Hello friends, I'm Michael Kingswood. I write fiction for fun and profit. Before we get to today's show, we have to do one thing real quick, and that's a little spot from our sponsor. Fortunately enough, our sponsor is me. In a world of valor and magic, two soldiers flee from their past. An isolated mountain town suffers under the heel of a vicious band of brigands. An offer of redemption for the one, salvation for the other, but not without great risk to both. Action and adventure await in Glimmer Vale, the first book of the Glimmer Vale Chronicles. Get your copy today, wherever great books are sold. Well, hello friends. I don't have my hair down. It's in a braid. But it is Monday, so we're doing Music Monday because, well, kind of have to. Those of you who've been around the channel noticed that I didn't do Story Saturday this last weekend. That's because last week I had my schedule jacked up a bit. I took a job as a poll watcher here in San Diego, and I had to do a bunch of training to get ready for the election this week, and that set off my whole schedule for the week, doing training for a few days. I had to do a lot of my money-making stuff at night, and so consequently my recording time got cut short, so I didn't do Story Saturday this week. Mea culpa, we're still going to do it this week. But since it's Monday and we have to do music, because I love music, I am doing Music Monday. Now, here's the thing. Last few weeks I've gotten away from Yesterwind, the Nightwish album, but we're getting back to it this week because I A, love it, and B, feel the need to. It's interesting because last week's music that I did, I was talking about Dream Theater's song, and I was like, man, it's really interesting to hear how musicians progress over the years. And that was something that I was thinking a lot as I was listening to this album, because I heard a lot of callbacks to a lot of Nightwish's earlier stuff in this album. And I mentioned one of them in my discussion of The Weave earlier, and I didn't properly follow that up. So I'm going to diverge a little bit from the discussion of this week's song first to talk about that. Because, I'm a musician, not a professional one, but I've played violin and guitar most of my life. I'm very rusty on both, but I'm classically trained in music. I know a bunch of stuff about it. I'm not nowhere near a professional level. Right, at best a rusty amateur. But at the same time, even if you're not trained, as you listen to various artists, you can detect their style, right? I mean, everybody knows how Metallica sounds. Everybody knows how various other groups sound. But it's fascinating when it really smacks you in the face. I was in a movie score stage a few months ago, and I was listening to, as I was driving around or doing whatever, listening to various movie scores. And at one point I was saying, okay, we're going to listen to music scores, obviously. And I was listening to the score from Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, James Horner. And I was like, man, this is great. And I looked up what the rest of his stuff was, and I saw Battle Beyond the Stars. I was like, I didn't know he did that, and listened to that. And as I'm listening to that, and I'm comparing it with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, I was like, this could almost be the same music. I mean, obviously it's different movies, different score, but there's so many elements that carry through to both of them that I was like, holy smokes. And I listened to other things of Horner did, and you could see it very clearly from in his score to The Perfect Storm. And then you listen to Titanic, and it's like, oh, there's this same kind of thing carried through. And I was like, oh man, that struck me as like really awesome. And I'll probably do something about showing what I'm talking about here in the channel going forward. But as I was listening to this album, I was like, holy cow, I can hear so many things that Tuamas did in the past that are callbacks or whatever in these songs. And it's very cool to see that same kind of thing. And the one that jumped out at me was the weave, and I mentioned it then, and I didn't really follow through, so I'm going to show it to you here, what I'm talking about right now. Hopefully you don't object too much. So in that video a few weeks back, I was like, man, this sounds like Scare Tale. Well, listen to this from Scare Tale. All right, now let's go over to the weave, which, listen to it. This is the interlude. Okay, not exactly the same, but a lot of very similar tonalities to it, right? And the same sort of thing happened in this entire album for me that I saw, and it's very cool. So in the song we're going to do this week, An Ocean of Strange Islands, I saw a similar thing in one part in particular, but so I figured I'd take some time and talk about that, just because I think it's cool, and it's really great to see a musician's style carry through over the decades. Now, I said before that Hiraeth and the Weave are my two favorites on this album, and that's true. This song, Oceans, is right beneath them as number 3. It's really hard to say which one, 2, or 3 are the top of my preference. They're all awesome. But yeah, this one in particular, well, when I was listening to the first few songs that they released, Perfume, and then the others, I was like, man, these are great, these are good. But man, I remember specifically the day of, when I reacted to it, I was like, man, I wish it was heavier. And I put the album in, and he had the opening Yesterwind track go in, which was beautiful and awesome, and then this comes up and it's instantly heavy, and I was like, all right, never mind, I'm there. So so I dig it, but I'm very interested to show you what I'm talking about here, so let's just get into it. An Ocean of Strange Islands from Nightwish. I love them, I love this song, I love this whole album, but here we go. This is the official lyric version. Let's go. A very dreamy opening. It sounds like it's at sea. of your story. You hear a little scare tale there as well, now that I just noticed it. Anyway, continuing on. Alright, so we're pausing here. So, Kingswood, why are you pausing here? Well, here's the callbacks. 2 songs from earlier in Nightwish's out thing. First, Sahara from Dark Passion Play. Listen to this. All right. Got that? Now, check out Story Time. Okay, got that. Let's go back to Ocean of Strange Islands. You hear it? You hear it? Dude, you see the style of composition carrying through across the decades? I mean, Dark Passion Play was, late aughts. Was it 08? And Storytime was with Imaginarium in 2012. And now you are in Yesterwinds coming out just now. And the style continues through, but it also progresses, right? The same composer having the same stylistic elements, but developing it through the span of his career, and it's great. I just love that part. Anyway, I thought that was very cool and very it's great to see. Great to see. Anyway, continuing on. Here's a fun here's a fun thing about that. I was listening to the song several times before I looked at the lyrics, and this part I always heard her singing, "Say a prayer for me." And then I looked at the lyrics and it's like, oh, well, that's obviously not the lyrics. But it's like, man, it's funny how when you listen to a song, you don't know the lyrics, you hear things, and if you don't immediately know what they're singing, you sort of put your own spin on it. And I've mentioned before, I'm a Christian, so I was like, I heard "Say a Prayer for Me," and I was like, oh, is Tuamas coming back to his earlier Christian roots? I don't know. And then I looked at the lyrics and I'm like, oh no, that's not what he's talking at all. He's talking about don't be afraid. The water's fine. Sail carefree. And I was like, well, it's actually kind of the same thing, just from a different angle. That's just me. A funny thing that I felt like mentioning. Anyway, going on. All right, so it's interesting. This last part here, with Troy's pipes. The first couple times I listened to this, it felt to me like this was an add-on. Like, oh, we have to find something for Troy to do because we didn't have him with this song, so let's just add the pipes on at the end. And I was like, well, that kind of cheapens Troy's pipes, and then I didn't like that at first. As I was the first couple times I listened through the album, and I liked the other songs later that he is more his pipes are more prominent in, until I listened to it with higher volume and listened to it with the lyrics, and frankly wasn't distracted with other things as I was listening to it, because like I said, I was listening to this several times as I was driving or doing chores or whatever, and when I finally sat down and listen to this one song as a whole, I was like, oh, it's not an add-on, it's brilliant. I mean, obviously it's brilliant because, it's beautiful. I just didn't fully appreciate the structure of the song. I didn't hear this ocean sound, because I was listening to it not on headphones at first. If that makes sense. But now it makes more sense because it's like the energy and then back to the peace of just the peace of sailing with the flow, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So that's an awesome song. It's, like I said, it's really difficult to tell which of those three I like best. Wraith, the Weave, and this one. Um, yeah, it's really tough. Like I said, I put this one slightly below the other two just because of where they fell when I first heard the album. Um, but there's elements of all three songs that any of them could easily be really be the top. But yeah, that the structure of this one, where you get start with the peace and kind of magical watery feel, then the power, following up with the little interlude, and then the power, and then the tranquility of the pipes at the end. It's like that sort of speaks to a lot of life, right? It's like, oh, it's this really a wondrous thing we're doing, but there's you know there's struggle, and there's you have to fight through, but at the same time you have people around you, and you're like, let's join together, let's do this. And but there's also the tranquility of, don't fight so hard, just go with it. And of course, in this the way they set up this video with the sailing, I spent 20 years in the Navy driving submarines, but still at sea. I also did some time on ships on the surface. I even got to land on a carrier and get catapulted off of a carrier. I have one trap and one cat. It's like, those are awesome. But anyway, but I love sailing. I owned a sailboat for a while. Sailed up and down the East Coast. I have a good friend of mine who still owns a sailboat. Well, he did, but his sailboat just got trashed at the in Florida in the hurricane just now, and that sucks. But between my boat, I bought it in Maine, sailed it to Connecticut, trucked it to Annapolis, sailed it down to Charleston, and then with his boat, with him, I sailed all around the Chesapeake Bay, and then sailed his boat down to Charleston, and then and now his boat just got trashed, and he's gonna get a new one, and we're gonna go sailing. But the point is, I enjoy sailing. I love being at sea, and the imagery of being, they keep showing the sailboat mast, and so that strikes me, and the sea, it is like this song, right? It's magical. It can also be tempestuous. It's more powerful than you, and it can destroy you. And your dog can bark in the background like my dog is right now, but that's okay. I like her anyway. But also the sea can. But also, if you set your sails right, and you're going the right direction, going with the wind and with the waves, even if it's really strong waves or real strong wind, if you set your sails right and go, it can be relaxing. You're just going and cruising. And so there's a lot of imagery in the song and also in the video that appeals to me. And also, like I said at the beginning of this, rough, 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 rough. Dog, 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 dog. You hear it. You hear her, right? It's a good thing I like her, otherwise she'd be in trouble. Anyway, it's a beautiful song, and also it's really awesome to see the compositional elements that Tuomas has had for a long time, that he's continued on. His style is still the same, but still changes and tweaks and develops and grows. And you can, if you watch it, you can see that, and that's great. So anyway, great song. I'm gonna go see what my dog needs, and I'm gonna get out of here. Come by on Saturday. We're gonna do silly dog. We're gonna do Story Saturday on Saturday. Go check out my Substack, michaelkingswood.substack.com. You can read stories. michaelkingswood.com/store. You can go buy books. You can come by a Story Saturday and listen to some. That'll be awesome. Oh, okay. You're here now after you just barked and made my recording. You gonna come here and say hi? Gonna come here and say hi to all the people again? Come here, you. Oh, you're not gonna say hi? You're just gonna annoy me? You're gonna annoy me, you silly dog? Alright. She doesn't really know me. I lost track of what I'm doing. So I'm gonna sign off. Hope you liked this. If you did, come back for more. And I'll talk to you then. Until I see you again, don't do anything I wouldn't do.